Miss Jodi here. I'm back out in the garden with Miss Nancy. Say hi, Miss Nancy.
Hi, everybody.
This morning it was raining and the trees are still wet and they're dripping on me. So I'm so glad to see you today and so glad to be in this beautiful garden. And I want to introduce a story for you. But before I introduce it, I want to tell you something. I was sitting here on the Saturday before Easter just for a little while because it was such a beautiful day. And I started walking around looking at the plants and I found something. Shh, I don't want you to tell anybody what I found, but I'm going to show you. All right, follow me. I have to go back here. You're not supposed to come back here, but I'm going to go back here. I'm going to be really careful that I don't step on any plants. They're all so beautiful and it's wet. Well, I found a secret part of the garden. So every year at Easter, we put out white lilies. We put them in the church and in the garden and out front, and they're all so beautiful and they smell wonderful, and it's a sign of Easter. Well, I found a whole bunch of Easter lilies, and I think they're from last year or another year. And I don't know if anybody else knows they're here. So let me show you. Here's one. So they put a whole bunch of them back here in the pots. I guess they were sleeping all winter and now they woke up and look, there's blooms on the top. So I count a whole lot of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's like 15 back here. My goodness. Maybe more. There's more right there. Anyway, there's a little secret stash. So what I want to do is maybe by the time they bloom, we'll all get to come back and see them. Keep your fingers crossed, I hope. If not, when they bloom, we'll send you a picture. So our story today is called The Parable of the Lily, and it is by Liz Curtis Higgs. Here we go.
The Parable of the Lily by Liz Curtis Higgs, illustrated by Nancy Munger. One wintry day, the farmer's young daughter shuffled through the snow, headed for the mailbox at the end of the lane. Brrr! It was cold. She peered inside the mailbox and found a small white envelope. Surprise! It was addressed to her. Dear Maggie, the letter began, I'm sending a very special gift just for you. Look for it soon. Maggie loved getting presents, especially a gift as mysterious as this one. When would it come? Who was it from? What would it be? The farmer's daughter waited and waited, some days patiently and some days not so patiently. Then one very ordinary afternoon, a box appeared on her doorstep. The gift had arrived. The father watched as his daughter excitedly tore off the wrapping paper. He was eager to see what she had thought of her present. But Maggie didn't say a word. She just stared at the small wooden crate, full of dirt. Dirt was not at all what Maggie had hoped for. Poking out of the soil was a small piece of paper that told Maggie how to care for her gift. It said, "Hide in a cool, dark place. Water is needed. When spring comes, bring it into the light." Then she knew it must be a growing thing like a bulb that would someday bloom into a plant. Oh dear. Her long-awaited gift wasn't a toy or a doll or a game after all. And the farmer could see that his daughter was very disappointed. His heart grew sad. The gift was from him. With a sigh, Mary carried the wooden box down the steps into the darkest corner of the cellar and left it there on a shelf. Sometimes she remembered to water it, but most of the time Maggie just plain forgot. The farmer did not forget. He just waited and he watched. Spring came at last. The air was warmer and the gray skies had melted into robin's egg blue. What a welcome sight the sun was. It was time for the farmer to hoe his garden, getting the soil ready for the seeds that filled his pockets. Maggie wanted to help, so she marched down to the cellar steps to get her own Maggie-sized gardening tools. That's when it happened. Searching for her toolbox in the darkest corner of the cellar, Maggie knocked the forgotten crate of dirt off the shelf. Crash! The crate splintered into pieces. Soil was everywhere, and the flower bulb that rolled to her feet showed no signs of life. What a mess! Maggie was mad at the box, and even madder at herself, and she swept up the dirt and threw away the broken box, grumbling under her breath. And that ugly old flower bulb? Well, she tossed that out of the cellar door, never to think of it again. Until Maggie woke up earlier than usual Easter morning. A warm breeze blew through her bedroom window, and the chirping birds seemed to call her name. Still dressed in her nightgown, Maggie tiptoed out into the garden. She was hoping to find some daffodils or tulips to decorate the table for Easter breakfast. That's when she saw it. The loveliest lily that God ever made was blooming on the edge of her father's flower garden. Its white petals unfolded like a trumpet. Its leaves were green with new life. Its scent was as fragrant as the most expensive perfume. Maggie knew all at once what had happened. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry or shout with joy. So Maggie did all three at once. Wake up, everybody! Wake up! Come see! The gift is alive! Her father hurried out to the garden. They couldn't believe their eyes. So much beauty from such an ugly box of dirt. Maggie noticed the farmer standing in the doorway, quietly watching. His smile gave away his secret. Father, it was you who gave me the lily, Maggie squealed with delight. Suddenly, her little girl's smile began to fade. Oh, dear. She'd thrown away her father's gift without so much as a thank you. How that must have hurt him. I'm sorry, Daddy, she said, putting her little arms around his big waist. Will you forgive me? Oh, my child, the farmer whispered, hugging her tight. That's what Easter is all about.
That was a great story. I hope you enjoyed it. Easter lilies are so special. I remember them when I was a child, and still today when I see them and smell them, it brings back so many memories of so many wonderful Easters. I hope your Easter was wonderful, and we'll see you next week for another story.